that point, I still didn't know I could design. So I went with him to a meeting, and he looked at my doodles and renders. He was like, "Oh wow, you're actually a pretty good designer." That was the first time I ever heard that, and I was really surprised. That kind of changed the thinking of how I thought of my company. That was one of the first time I was paid to do a design. A couple months after that, I gave it more thought. I started my own design firm.
This is episode 216 with Danny Wang. Enjoy!
Welcome to your go-to podcast for the pool and spa industry. My name is Tyler Rasmussen.
And my name is Greg Villafania. And this is the Pool Chasers Podcast. All right. Well, thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us on the podcast today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
So can you give the listeners a bird's eye view of what you do exactly? I mean, what do your parents, tell other people what you do?
What I do is kind of complex. So I still tell my friends and family I'm a gardener. I just tell them I'm a landscaper. I do gardening. Because sometimes it's crazy explaining to people what you do, right? Like, so in grand scheme of things, we design and build multi-million-dollar homes. So that's whether that's remodeling, that's building a house, that's doing the outdoors. We do all of it, right? So we do the interior, exterior, the home, the backyard, whatever related to the house. So from the bird's eye view, that's what we do. We're pretty much general contractors and designers.
Say, find the nearest person that uses Instagram or TikTok, and they'll tell you what I do.
Usually they're surprised.
So can you talk to us a little bit about where you grew up and how that impacted your life?
I was born and raised in Taiwan. Came here when I was about 10 or almost turning 10. So pretty much didn't speak English, I spoke a little English, but not much, right? So, pretty much moved here, had to learn a whole new language, a whole new culture. And that's really changed my life for the better.
What was life like in Taiwan? I mean, were you middle class? Like, where were you at?
I think we were doing okay. Taiwan's very city-like, so very dense, very city, just very hustle and bustle. And over here, I came to Orange County when I was 10, and just more suburb, slower pace of life. And what the biggest difference is in Taiwan, there was no outdoor. Everything's skyscraper, tight together. And when I first came here, it was like, oh wow, everybody has, we're living the American dream, right? Like there's a house, a backyard, nice weather, swimming pools, things like that. So I think just having that lifestyle change from that initial moment when I came from here is a really busy hustle bustle place to some, over here is more relaxed, slower pace, and just kind of, where people own homes, right?
Sure. Any reason in particular that your family moved to Southern California?
I think they wanted to provide a better life for us, and they certainly have. There's definitely, when I was younger, you always hear, and there's a lot of people that just, the American dream, right? I didn't know what that was, but after being in the States for I think 20, almost 30 years now, and achieving what I achieved, then I realized, you begin to understand what is the American dream, right? You could pretty much set your mind on doing something and you could achieve it, right? Over there's just less opportunities. There's a bunch of hoops that you had to jump through. Over here, you could pretty much own your own business. You could do this, you could do that. There's really no limit on what you could do. It just depends on how hard you work, right? Or what you're doing. So that really had an effect on my life and career.
What were some of the most difficult things you had to deal with when you first came over here?
Speaking language and also difference in culture. When I first came here, I didn't really know how to speak English. And also, I don't know the culture, so it's almost starting fresh, right? So you have to relearn how everything is, whole new language, whole new culture, and really, I think that process had has helped me further in life. And I attribute a lot of what I do now to that period.
Right. And do you think, being from Taiwan has, created some misunderstanding of who you are? Because English isn't your first language, so maybe things come off a different way. Is that maybe a true statement?
Certainly, sometimes definitely there's some communication. There's still some communication where I might say something and then people take it the other way because it's like a direct translation. But I think for the most part, 95%.
So tell me about some of the first jobs that you had.
How I got into started this business. My dad used to do landscaping, and he used to build koi ponds, and he specialized in doing like Japanese koi ponds. And when I first was age of work, I actually I was a koi pond maintenance person. So I would go and clean the filters. I would go and clean the koi ponds, take care of the fish. So that's kind of what I did when I was younger. When I was able to drive, that was my summer. That was kind of my first step into the real world, is working, cleaning his stuff. And through that process, I learned a lot about the hydraulics, the plumbing, how to build stuff. And then I worked in the field with him during the summer, or no, not with him, but I worked in the field in the summertime. So I learned how to do plumbing. I know how to do like sprinklers. I know how to build swimming pools, how to fix things. So just kind of understanding the concept of how how the water works, right? And I did that for a couple of summer, and right out of college, during college, I worked with him as a project manager. So I learned just different aspect of landscape construction, some home remodel, and right after I got out of college, I pretty much we had some differences, and he told me to start my own business, and I did. So that was in 2006.
Okay. Yeah, that is a lot more responsibility taking care of a koi pond. I mean, koi fish are just beautiful
Yeah.
creatures, and you lose one of those, that's all bad.
I learned the importance of having filtration, that the ecosystem where you have to have, good bacteria that eats algae. And so it's essentially building like a natural pond. Yeah. So, so I learned that fundamental of filter and all that kind of stuff, water flow, when I was working as a koi pond
Right.
cleaner.
So you probably were next to a lot of really cool designs, because I know traditionally koi ponds, just sort of have more of that like Japanese aesthetic and Zen-like yards.
So yeah, so that's definitely has a lot of influence on how I design now as well. The Zen influence, and also pretty much the way we built koi ponds was how they were so big. We built them like swimming pools, and really that's where I got introduction to building the swimming pools and building koi pond, like such large water structures.
Right. And when you were working with your father, how was that?
Oh, it was good. I was able to learn a lot. I was able to learn a lot from him. He taught me a lot of the hydraulics, how the filter, how everything works, and really having that understanding was helpful because I was able to, just understanding how water flows, and really I think that had a huge impact in my life in the future. At that time, I didn't really think of it, but definitely that has a lot of impact in what I do now.
Right. So, moving into your own business, what did you think you were going to do? What ideas did you have for, just being a business owner, entrepreneur? What did you think you were going to do?
At that time, I didn't really know, but I was already, so after I left them, I started build also my own build company. So a lot of people, they probably don't realize this if they're listening, is I'm actually a builder. So when I first started my company, all I did was build. I built for other designers. I built for homeowners. I built for contractors. I was subcontracted to a lot of general contractors. So I did landscaping, hardscape, masonry, pools. So I didn't really design myself. I was just working with other designers, or I will hire designers to do all that. And it wasn't until probably 5 years ago then I started doing design on my own.
Wow. And is that from just working with a lot of, good designers and different things like that? I mean, which, companies had the biggest influence on your
So it was really
career?
funny because I think 5 years ago everybody was really busy. So I think it was one of those things that we started dabbling into doing 3D program, and I always have fascination for 3D programs. So the biggest thing is, now looking back, what I realize is I usually go to property and I have visions in my head, but I wasn't able to communicate that vision to my clients or to other people. So how I got into design was, all my designers were super busy, and I had a couple of jobs that I really need to nail down. So I was like, you know what, how hard could it be? So I started using the program. Started doing design. So I was doing some design jobs, pretty simple. I was really just fascinated because the nice thing is I built them, right? So usually I know what they look like. And at that point, I still didn't know that I could design, right? I was like, okay, I could do a 3D program, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until maybe a year later where, my company kind of self-imploded because I was taking on too much projects, where, I couldn't do anything else. So a friend reached out to me to help him do some sales, and he wanted to see how I was operating my business. Long story short, I went with him. I designed the project, and at that point, I still didn't know I could design. So I went with him to a meeting, and he looked at my doodles and renders. He was like, "Oh wow, you're actually a pretty good designer." That was the first time I ever heard that, and I was really surprised. That kind of changed the thinking of how I thought of my company. That was one of the first time I was paid to do a design. A couple months after that, I gave it more thought. I started my own design firm.
Wow. How did that feel? I mean, did you ever before that think it would be so cool to be a designer opposed to, a
Um,
builder?
how does that feel? Yeah, I mean, it's different because I never grew up thinking that I would be a designer. So actually, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a builder either. So my background is when I went to college for finance, and with a real estate emphasis. And how I got into construction, besides my father, was, I was like, okay, to make these real estate deals, I studied real estate development. To make these deals work, I need to understand what the construction costs are. And long story short, I went to work with my father, understand that. So I didn't really think I was gonna do anything else besides, I didn't think I was gonna stay in building forever, right? Because I was like, oh, let me just go learn how to do this, so then I could figure out how to do real estate investment deals. And yeah, so I never thought that I would be, building pools, building homes, and now designing projects all over the world, right? So it was an interesting revelation, but I guess you embrace it, right?
Yeah, and I'll say you are very methodical about the things that you do. Does that, real estate development, college degree, does that help you in your decision making when you're really kind of, breaking down the different numbers? I mean, can you walk through maybe how, you assess different things?
Yeah, so definitely, once we kind of, yeah, definitely we use that knowledge a lot because obviously we understand, what, how to increase value and how to make things look aesthetic pleasing. Because yeah, real estate is mostly numbers, the building costs, but a lot of it is also the aesthetics, right? Like, okay, if you design this project, you invest this much. We always look at it as an investment. It's like, okay, invest this much money. When you turn around to sell it, you're gonna sell it for a lot more money. So let's say a quick example would be adding on square footage. So over here in California, the square footage of homes are super expensive. So we would communicate with the client and say, hey, listen, you guys spend, maybe, let's say $300 a square foot. And if your house is selling for $500 a square foot, or $600 a square foot, you're in the money, right? So, by understanding how the money side works, we're able to communicate to our client, okay, investing these kind of money, there is a return. And by spending more money than, maybe the other guy down the street, we're able to see homes that will sell faster and higher price than otherwise. So yeah, so I mean that when I was studying, I never thought that would be that useful. But as now we're doing a lot of these kind of projects, just speaking that language helps a lot with the buying decision, because they understand that the money they put in, they'll also get back.
Real estate being so competitive, do they talk a lot about, building relationships and the networking side of it?
No, I mean, that I always learned from a young age is this, it's all about who you know, right? So, we definitely, especially at what we're doing, always develop that relationship building with clients. So that's more for like personal, I learned personally.
Right.
We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Danny discusses how he built his brand, a few success stories that have come courtesy of social media, and what it is like working with people from other countries.
Hi, I'm Rich Gallo with Pierce from Los Angeles, and this is your Skimmer Tip of the Week. The one thing in life we never get back is lost time, and Skimmer has saved me a measurable and calculable amount of time by having everything at my fingertips in one app for my entire route. I'm able to assign tasks to my technicians on a routine basis that will prevent certain calls like the dreaded, hey, my heater doesn't work phone call. And I'm grateful for that, because not only is it saving me time, but it's saving my customers time. Thank you, Skimmer.
To find out more, check out episodes 138 and 154 of the podcast, or go to getskimmer.com/pool chasers. That's getskimmer.com/pool chasers.
So let's, take a big shift here. When did you start utilizing social media? Because, that's, probably how you've been able to really create the Danny Wang brand is, from these social media platforms. How did you get involved with that?
So I got involved in 2008. At that time, I was going through a really rough patch of my life. I think I mentioned earlier, we were at a point where we oversold jobs, and we couldn't have enough manpower to complete those jobs. So I had to stop taking on jobs for maybe 2 years to catch up with the backlog. And during those 2 years, obviously angry phone calls from clients, subcontractors, vendors, and just it was really, really rough. And I thought of getting on social media was, initially I used social media as a place because I was anonymous, right? I was just like, okay, I'm on here, I'm posting what I'm doing, I'm posting these kind of projects. At the same time, with the stories, it was like, okay, it was kind of like an adventure, right? It's like, okay, these are the things that I had to do every single day. So I started with that, and a couple months in, I had someone that called and said, hey, I saw your stuff on social media, on Instagram specifically, and I want to hire you. And that really intrigued me. It's like, well, how did this person how do they see my work when, I wasn't even trying to outreach, right? I was just using it for kind of displaying my work, showing kind of what I do every day, kind of escape from my daily life. So, long story short, he called me. He's like, hey, I really want to hire you. You look like you do good work. I'm not shopping around, just come do my project. And we landed that project. And after that, I was really, really surprised. I was like, wow, how did this person just find me out of nowhere? And and then I dove in more. I spent a lot more time building that. So the nice thing is we already had a lot of projects, right? We've been doing projects for many years, and it was never published or never shown online. And through Instagram, now this platform allows me to show the work worldwide. So, then we start doing it, and then once we start doing it, we start learning, how social media works. It has to be engaging content, has to be, display your work, has to do this and that. So, once I start doing that, kind of showing people, what I do in a very authentic way, the followers start picking up, and as the followers start picking up, business start coming in. So we used to get phone calls from, we still do. We get phone calls from people from India, Africa, wherever, all sorts of part of the world, and more it just kind of spun this huge ball. It's like, okay, now we're getting projects all over the country, all over the world, and it's quite amazing actually. So now we're doing projects all over the place.
That's incredible. And do you do it all yourself?
The social media, yes, because I believe that it's very crucial to communicate the right branding and message as a personal. I treat it almost like a personal brand, right? So there's no one else that could portray what I do better than myself, right?
So how do you integrate that into your day? Because anybody that's made an attempt at sharing stuff on social media knows that it takes time. I mean, do you just have that level of work ethic? Like, how do you integrate that into your day?
With everything I try to do, I want to do the best, right? So I just treat it as a full-time job. So, I work 40, 60 hours a week on it. Not constantly, but, when I'm in between meetings, or I'm job site waiting for something to happen, or, lunchtime, I just try to hop on to, make content. And because for a while we had content, right? Like have job site photos, we had this or that. So it was just simply putting the content onto the platform. And then a lot of times engaging, networking, because what people don't realize is it's a networking platform, right? You reach out to people outreach to you, build a lot of personal relationship. I met tons of great people on social media. So it's work. I mean, you just gotta treat it as if you are doing this as a job, right? And because of the success that we have with our social media, I mean, most people in my company know that's kind of what like my job is now, right? Because it brings in millions of dollars.
Wild. And I told you this last night that I feel like you have so much courage in doing, the before and after photos, because, me, I would want the nice, beautiful photo right front and center, just like everybody else. But you put it last because you know that it's going to do better. I mean, when did you start doing the before and afters?
The before and after, probably 3 years ago. So I was looking at one of my friends' posts, and she was sharing before and after, and it did surprisingly well. So I was like, well, I have tons of before and after photos. So I started posting them, and within posting, I think maybe like 5 or 10 of them, my account started going like insanely viral. So the thing with social media is there's certain metrics that once you hit it, it's almost like the platform wants to push your content. So I think for a while, for a short period of time, it just kind of pushed up before and after content. And I had a lot of projects, so I was just kind of uploading, and that kind of took my account to the next level. And also, I think people aren't engaged into seeing how it works, because I'll show the before picture where nothing's there, or something previously was there. We'll show the process of how it got to the end result. And I think a lot of people like that. And even now, I still do contents like that, where I do time lapse and see people building, and people they'll see like 1 minute video of my project going from beginning to finish, right? So I think people are just very curious about how it works, how the whole process, someone's if you're there to document it, I think people are just curious in general, see how it goes from this to that, right?
Yeah, you're doing so many things, whether it be, real estate, construction, swimming pools, all these different things, and then you add in marketing, social media. Do you give yourself, I don't know if it's like in the back of your mind, but do you give yourself like a limit of how far you can take something where it's like, I'm going to let my expertise get so far because I don't have time to be, say, an expert videographer where I'm going to bring out a super expensive camera and all that. It's like, I'm going to learn this to this point and this is what it's going to be, and I'll kind of evolve over time. Like, how do you do that? Because you edit your videos too, right? You're like putting it all together.
Yeah. So that's, I think maybe it's very similar to design, right? Like I try to, because I'm not really good at video editing. So, now once we start getting on social media, we kind of film like how it should be edited. And with the apps like TikTok, I initially used TikTok as video editing app, and it was so easy that you could do it on your phone, right? And regardless of what you're posting, as long as it's engaging, shitty quality will be okay as well. Like it doesn't have to be professionally shot. I think, and people more and more like that nowadays is because it's very authentic. They don't want to see something that's super well produced and just it seems like an ad, right? But for me, it just I shoot a couple clips here and there, and as long as the message gets across and they see the before and after, or they see the process, it gets good engagement.
Yeah. So you're saying that you like initially started using TikTok just as a video editor.
Yeah,
That's why you're using it.
It had
And
the
then
music and had the the transition point. You could import like video clips. This was before Instagram Reels, so we thought that was a very interesting platform. It's like, okay, wow, this TikTok thing, everybody's talking about it. It's getting tons of download. So I was like, okay, let me play with it, right? It's just curiosity. It's like, okay, you want to play with the newest and greatest thing. And what I started doing is I started using TikTok to make videos for Instagram. And of course, you could use it for both platforms. And surprisingly, we found success in both.
yeah. So do you have any, success stories from that? Because, I think people are definitely starting to catch on to TikTok, but I don't think everybody feels like, real deals are being made, like selling a swimming pool or a home or something like that.
Yeah, so definitely tons of interesting stories. Like I said, I was using it for video editing, and social media is, social media is pretty rough, right? Like it's tough to grow a following initially, but you just have to grind it through, right? Post informative content, be interesting, and definitely we have one of the surprising success stories is when we first started using the app. At that time, there was a bunch of it was kind of geared towards more like a teenager app, right? So we started posting and started picking up traction, and what we started getting was, this is one of the effects that I didn't know that social media will have is even younger kids, they see my stuff, they will actually go tell their parents to say, hey, look at what this guy's doing. Maybe we should give him a call. Certain instances, I had little kids emailing me, and I was really surprised when I show up at their house. It's like, oh, is so and so here, and little kids come out, right? So just having a couple of that instances really, just reestablish, my belief on social media, right? It's like, well, you could just put content. You never know who's looking. And we definitely have gotten so many surprises. I mean, tons of celebrities, tons of newspaper, tons of editors from newspaper. They see my stuff, and just you never know, right? Or my uncle told me about this. So it's just the more exposure you have, the better. Although it might not translate to business, it definitely translates into it translates into something. And with social media, it doesn't cost any money to start. So my suggestion to people is just kind of just start shooting away, right? You just never know what will happen. All it takes is just to start.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows that influence can come from anywhere. You know, somebody openly talking about wanting to build, a swimming pool in their backyard, landscape, all that stuff, maybe at the dinner table with family and friends, and everybody, follows Danny Wang.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you need to get this dude. He's actually here in Newport or, here in Orange County. That's how things in the real world happen,
And
right?
even beyond that, I mean, we have jobs in different countries because of that, right? It's like, how does this person? I mean, there's some countries I never even heard of. They reach out to me, and this morning I was talking to someone from Nigeria, going over their pool design, right? We're doing one in Caribbeans. We're doing talk to a bunch of people in India, Pakistan, Malta. So it just you never know. I mean, it's such a big platform, people worldwide, and it was very interesting when I started to be involved with people that are outside our country, right? You start noticing how people do things differently, start doing understanding what the differences in different regions. So yeah, it's a very eye-opening experience, and this is all possible from your cell phone, right? So just very, very good, very good things to explore.
Yeah, and speaking of working in other countries and things like that, do you feel like being from America and Southern California specifically, that we have sort of a competitive edge in terms of because I know that there are certain countries that are a little bit behind in, say, design and technology, and you might be able to show them some of the latest and greatest stuff.
Yeah, so I think that really helps. And a lot of people, also use Instagram for inspiration. Definitely helps bring awareness to different countries. They see how things are done differently. I kid you not, there's a couple countries where I see they're still building swimming pool out of cinder blocks, right, or mud. So you just never know where your influence reaches, and they reach out to you. It's like, hey, how do we do this? How do we do that? And then there's also times where I see other people in different regions are doing things differently, and I will go out and approach them and say, hey, how I noticed that you guys are doing this differently. Why? And then I'm also learning, right? So it's a two-way street.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the biggest struggles, in working, with people in different countries?
I think one of the biggest challenges is the difference in material availability and also cost, and also just the technology. Oh, I shouldn't say too much of technology. More of just the skills. Like, there's a lot of countries where they don't have super high skilled labor, so even building like a vanishing edge pool is very, very difficult, right? They don't know the plumbing size. They don't know how to do this and that, and also different. One thing I learned even recently is different climates have different heating requirement. So that was definitely very eye-opening as well. So it just kind of opens, there's different challenges, but once you're aware of them, then it's easy to address them.
Yeah. And how big a role does technology play into that for you? Because I know you're always sharing, super crazy stuff, whether it be kitchen remodel stuff, tile, It doesn't matter what it is. It seems like you're really kind of front and center with everything. Do you think, there's a lot of, how do you feel about technology?
Yeah, I love tech. I believe it helps people enable a better experience. Just certainly some tech that's not quite there yet, but I like to be, I think I'm just like a gadget guy, right? So it's like, okay, when just things like the newest and greatest, I want to play with it. I want to understand what's so good about it. If I can incorporate to my project, if not, then maybe how to make it better. So I just kind of like tinkering with the new tech, and then just kind of understanding what makes them better, what makes them worse, or how can we make it better. So it's just one of the things that I really spend a lot of time with to see how that could, I guess, better our lives, right? It makes our life easier.
We're going to take another quick break. When we get back, Danny discusses where he finds inspiration, his unique lighting videos, and what he likes to do for fun. This episode is brought to you by Leslie's. The pool industry has seen its ups and downs for the past few years, but Leslie's has been there through it all to provide you with best-in-class service, competitive pricing, and available inventory on products you use every day. Leslie's is determined to be your go-to resource for building your business, and they will partner with you to help save both time and money. Visit your local Leslie's store today. To learn more about their exclusive pool trade professional programs, check out episode 151 and 165 of the podcast. This episode is also brought to you by Lion Financial. Partner with the industry leader in swimming pool loans, Lion Financial, to make backyard dreams come true. Lion Financial has financing options for swimming pool and home improvement projects of $5,000 and above, including pool equipment. Their programs offer your customers the very best in pool financing solutions, including rates as low as 2.99%, terms up to 30 years, unsecured loans up to $200,000, options available for credit scores of 600 and above, and no consulting fees. Lion Financial is your one-stop shop for pool financing solution, now offering both cash direct to customer loan programs, as well as loans that pay you directly in stages. It is absolutely free for pool contractors to partner with Lion Financial. Financing options made it easier for your customers to say yes to a pool. Lion Financial never charges prepayment penalties or consulting fees to your clients, and partners with both you and your customers until the project is complete. When it comes to something as important as a pool, work with true professionals who have the best interests of both you and your customers in mind. With more than 43 years of experience specializing in pool financing solutions, why trust anyone but the experts? Call Lion Financial today or visit the link below.
And where are you finding inspiration, whether it be, materials or design, technology? Where do you, find all that inspiration?
Obviously social media, right? I also I browse a lot of content, and also different people post different things. I get a lot of inspiration from that as well. And people, nowadays people send me things. They send me videos. They're like, oh, hey, this is cool. Check it out. It's like a whole community. And then when I see something cool, I share it, right? So it just kind of back and forth, and kind of utilize all that, right? So it's both user base, both me outreaching to different things, and now because of our social media platform, we actually have manufacturers that will directly reach out to us and get our feedback on like stuff that they want to release, right? So that's also really, really cool to see how our influence has even reached to the level of that kind of decision making.
Well, yeah, if you want opinion, especially an opinion on a new product from, I don't know, you probably are in the millions of views, right? Yep. Yeah, that'd be a great way to get some stats.
Yeah, and then also great market research. So a lot of times I'll post, let's say tile manufacturer will reach out to me and say, hey, what would you pick, right? So instead of just giving my input, I just put it on my social media and say, hey, what do you guys like better, right? Or I'll test things and say, okay, what would you guys like to see more, right? So it's a lot of interaction. and because of our following base is so large that it's enough to make a significant impact on the decision making. So yeah, tons of stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of things I can't disclose because I signed NDAs, but I could say from automotive to appliances to new technology stuff. It's quite mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah, crazy. I mean, this is the world of influencer marketing, whether people want to buy into that or not. I think the way that message gets delivered is different. And I think that you do a good job of kind of, the things that you might share are things that you actually use
Yeah,
or things
yeah.
that
So
you believe
So
in.
that's one thing that we always try to do is we try to keep it very authentic. We get a lot of sponsors that want to just pay us off to push their product, but because I have real business in the real world and I don't get I don't get swayed by that, right? It's like, okay, hey, we'll pay you, X amount to push our product. And usually I say, hey, you know what? Send me one unit or two. I'll test it out because I don't want to just push random things to people that because they follow me. I don't want to just push random things to them. And I think a lot of the follower base, they also see that. It's like, okay, I don't just push everything, right? It's only things that I truly, genuinely believe. And that's really where the trust comes from. Is okay, I'm not just doing this for money. Even if they're paying me a lot of money, I turn it down, right? So I think that goes a long way to provide authenticity and just kind of truth behind things.
You shared, really cool videos with me. We were going back and forth about lighting, and you sent me some really cool videos. Can you talk about that? Because I had never seen anything like that.
Lighting to me is very important, right? Because at night, that's really where makes outdoors shine, even indoors, right? It creates the mood, sets atmosphere, and LED technology has gone so advanced from before. Now you have color changing LEDs inside pools or inside your house. Now to the one that I just recently did, it's called addressable LEDs. Pretty much, you have the ability to control each individual LEDs. To tell it what to do. And traditionally, this is used in like concerts where they create cool effects. But that some of that technology has trickled down to the consumer. I shouldn't say it's trickled down to consumer. I would say maybe prosumer because it's still very difficult to do. But once you understand how to program it and use a couple of tools to make it easier, it allows you to create pretty much infinite possibilities of what you could do with the lighting. And for this particular project, we had 100-foot water wall, and for structural reasons, I couldn't do a continuous wall. So we had to build like individual columns, and we had to build I think 33 or 34 3-foot columns with a little space in between. And at the time I was building it, I was like, well, it would be really cool to light this up, right? Because we had to see how we could light it up. And but I didn't know how to. I seen really cool, people do really cool LEDs with steps and rooms, but I never knew how to do it. So I dug, being curious, I started doing a lot of research, reach out to people, reach out to manufacturers. And that's another nice thing of having a large following, right? Everybody's willing to help. So, I was able to reach directly to the manufacturer, say, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? Or if not, can you guide me to the people that could do this? So, we found a couple really great guys. They taught us, they came down, help us set up, program it, and show us how the system works. And now we have about 34 strips installed. I could control on my phone how those lights light up. So I think there's altogether about 8,000 LEDs. I could control down to the micro level. It's like, okay, if out of this 8,000 LED, if I just want this LED to come on, right? And it works very similar to like an LED TV, right? There's a computer telling what signal to put out and what colors to put out. So you could create images, you could create sequences. I mean, the the possibilities are endless. So I thought, okay, no one's ever done this in a pool, and I have this perfect project for it. I just, we just do it, right? We tell our clients the crazy idea, and of course they're for it. So that's how that water feature came to be.
Yeah, it's unreal. It looks like you're driving down Las Vegas Strip or something.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's definitely different, and it's very unique.
Yeah. So, besides all the work
Mhm.
stuff, what other things are you into? Do you do anything, for fun ever? I mean, this is all fun, I get it, but you have any other hobbies or interests?
I love cars, products, tech stuff. That's what I love. Family, I try to do a lot of family stuff. Traveling, I always like to see how see the world, right? So more and more, I'm getting able to do that by the projects I'm doing. So those are kind of my hobbies outside of just work.
Yeah. And you seem to be a very private person. Is that kind of like a culture thing? Is that kind of methodically, thought out,
No, I
or,
think
what's the thing behind that?
I think it's both. When we first started, we wanted to create the, you know, it's kind of funny because when no one knows what you look like, they think about what you look like, right? Because it's just like this guy's posting this thing. So initially, we thought it'd be kind of cool to have this like the Wizard of Oz identity, and then as we started doing this, start having more larger following. Obviously, I'm Asian descendant. There's a lot of racism going on as well. So we try to not create something that will set us back. And also, as your following gets larger, people know who you are just because of third degree or second degree connections. Uh, I have so many friends that you know that have people that show up at their house. So it's just at a certain point also security. I don't want people to kind of know uh, where we are. Some of my clients they have a private home, so it's just more of just for privacy and safety, and also I always believe that I'm showcasing my work, not my face, right? I'm not dancing. I'm not using my personal things to be on the internet, right? So I always think that it should be focused on what I do, not who I am.
Yeah, love that. How does your family feel about, the success you have on social media and business?
Um, it has its advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, I'm always on my phone because social media is 24/7, and so that takes it's hard to find balance, but we try to. And I think last 2 years where we had really exponential growth, I think it's a love-hate relationship because now I'm traveling a lot more. I'm doing a lot more things outside of what I'm doing for work. So I think it's a love-hate relationship.
Is there anything that I might have forgot to ask or that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I had a couple of bad podcast experiences, and when we reach out to me, I was very excited because I know the listener base and the people that are in the industry, and I think it's really important to know to just kind of hear it from someone that I started as a koi pond cleaner, right? I didn't have these huge aspiration of being designer, builder, whatever. I just came from cleaning ponds, right? And today, this is now I'm known for doing all sorts of other things. There's a lot of people I know that they feel like they could do better or they could do this or that, and sometimes it just takes one person to say, well, maybe you should do the next thing, right? So I think what I really wanted to come on here, and really thankful that you gave me this opportunity. Is just if I could help anybody take the next step or do this and that, to do a little bit, to be inspired, to take that leap of faith to do better. That's something that I wanted to put that message, because in this industry, you'll see a lot of people. They're very not willing to share. They're very private, not private, but they kind of fend you off as a competitor. So there's not a lot of open information, right? It's like, okay, hey, I might be doing this, but I'm thinking of progressing to the next step, or how do I do better? How do I get to this? What kind of opportunities are there? So it's very, very enclosed, right? But I think just having a conversation where it's like, okay, hey, this is what I used to do, and now this is what I do now. So it just kind of opens up the possibility of, oh, hey, if I have the work ethics and this and that, I could do what this guy does, right? So really, that's something that I thought would be very helpful for your listeners. Is, okay, sometimes people have an image of who this guy is, but it's like, actually, I started from the bottom. I work my way up, and that's how it should be, right? So that's really what when you reach out, I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool that I was a big fan of your podcast from a couple of years ago, and just have the opportunity to kind of share my experiences, and hopefully maybe someone take inspiration and go from there.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. I mean, those are very kind words from you, and I wasn't sure if you would bring it up, but I'm a very passionate person, and I know what podcast you're talking about. Won't call anybody out, but it really made me think a lot that people really need to get to know somebody before judging a book by its cover. And I knew there was a lot more to you than just social media. Mm-hmm. And getting to know that you've migrated here from another country and just become self-made and starting from the bottom, like you said, and moving on up by hard work ethic. Like, that's not a reason to, dislike somebody. It should be motivation and inspiration to, grind it out and, partner up with you.
On social media, we do that. I try to answer all my DMs, and when people ask me questions, whether it's pricing or this and that, I try to be as transparent as possible, because that's, I don't look at people as being competitors, right? It's just like, okay, everybody's doing this thing. If we could help each other out, that's kind of how it should be. It should be a community versus, trying to tear each other down.
I agree. So where can people find you? I'm sure most people know, but maybe if you could give your website, Instagram and TikTok handle, that'd be awesome.
So I have two on Instagram. I have a private one, which is more of my personal, I'm posting more of, behind the scenes stuff. So that's at Danny Wang. And then there's a Danny Wang Design. That's my company handle. And then over on TikTok, it's Danny Wang Design.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Danny. This was a really fun conversation.
Yeah,
and,
it was my pleasure.
I consider you a friend, and I look forward to seeing what you do, over time.
Yeah, no, likewise. It was a very great opportunity, and I'm really thankful to have me as your guest.
Hey, Pool Chasers. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. To connect with today's guests, including pictures, links, and resources from everything discussed today, you can visit the episode page at poolchasers.com or click the links below. To connect more with us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by searching at Pool Chasers. If you would like to support the podcast, the easiest and most effective way is to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as share the show or your favorite episode with a friend or on social media. Also, you can get early access to each episode by supporting us through Patreon. We know your time is valuable, so thank you for sharing some of yours with us today.
See you out there, Pool Chasers.